All right, good morning, agents. My name is Kevin Lauren. I'm the Director of Training and Marketing here at Alta Realty Group. And today we are going to continue our discussion on Realtor Safety, it being N.A.R.'s National Realtor Safety Month, September. So we are going to continue that. We want you guys to be always safe out there in everything that you do. So a deal's a deal, but nothing's worth your safety. So always good to be going over these things. Before we get into today's presentation, I'm going to bring Bill Seitz, corporate broker, on the line. Bill, good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Kevin. Good morning, everybody.
Welcome, agents. Great to have you guys. Looks like a beautiful fall day out there on the California coast.
Yeah, it's cooled down quite a bit, so hopefully that'll help out with some of these fires.
Oh, big time.
A lot more humidity in the air here down this way in Orange County. Hopefully that will help put some of these really bad fires to bed here.
Yeah, our rock star Raquel Bauer is out in the middle of those fires, and so unfortunately she's pretty close to them. So we had to make sure she was doing okay. Fortunately, she is doing all right.
Yeah, it's it's amazing how those 3 or 4 of those popped up on the same exact day on the same afternoon.
That's
Makes
how
me
that happens, huh? And I guess Raquel from Legacy Escrow, she was right in the middle of all three of those fires, right?
Yeah. No, she says she's had quite of a doozy as far as packing her bag in her car and being prepared to evacuate. Thankfully, it hasn't come to that yet, but we'll wish her the best for sure.
Oh, for sure. So all prayers for Raquel Bauer.
Kevin, before we get Debbie on the phone, or I'm not on the phone, well, on the line,
Yeah.
I want to just remind everybody that super important to make it easy on yourself. If you're going to ask the seller, I covered this a couple weeks ago, if you're going to ask the seller to cover any portion or all of your compensation that you've agreed upon with your buyer and the buyer's broker agreement, that on page 2 of the purchase agreement, the very top, it's box G3. You're going to want to check that box, and that says that you're requesting the seller to pay compensation to the buyer's agent. Accompanying with that, you need to submit the SPBB form, which also outlines what that amount is or percentage is. So super important. That should be delivered optimally at the time of your offer submission. So the listing agent and the seller can review all basically macro terms as far as compensation. Keep trying to not use the word commission. Compensation to the buyer's agent, and it'll save you a lot of time and headache. We've had a couple agents forget to do that, and they're trying to incorporate it into the contract after it's already been agreed upon. And that gets real dicey because at that point, if the seller hasn't agreed upon it, you're basically praying that they're gonna, they don't have to at that point. They can say, well, why didn't you submit this up front? Why wasn't this presented to me at the time that I signed an offer? So be very, very careful and mindful with that, and just get yourself in that habit. That's the new norm. If you are, asking the seller to pay any portion or all of your compensation, you need to check box G3 and supply the SPBB with that offer. So that is my contract tip of the week, day, month. I'll probably have to say it again, but that is super important.
Yeah, we just don't want anybody to be in that position. That's a horrible position to be in, and it can be completely avoided.
Yeah, and it's just once again, it's just understanding where it is on the contract. It's at the very top of page 2 of the purchase agreement. So if you're still kind of unfamiliar with the new format, the new layout, make sure you familiarize yourself with that, because you could easily miss it. It's at the very top of page 2.
All right, thank you for that, Bill. So let's bring on Debbie Zacconi from Clearview Mortgage. Hold on a second here. All right, Debbie, good morning. How are you today?
I'm really good. How about you?
Doing fantastic. You're not
Good.
affected by those fires, are you?
No, no, just breathing it and seeing it from a distance, but no threat of, I have friends in Crestline, and I've called them like, do you need help? Like I can go get you.
Good deal.
Um it's they're like it's touch and go over there in the mountains.
For sure.
So um so anyway, but so what I wanted to talk about, I'm floored, I'm happy, I'm doing a dance in my seat because of interest rates. Woohoo. Now all the people that, and I'm sorry if you were one of them, that we got interest rates when you purchased, 7.5% or in the sevens. I could not believe, I priced a past client, her rate, I think her current rate was 7.25%. And I quoted her yesterday and I checked it today because I want to see, how things, how the rates are today. Still a refinance, zero origination points, zero origination points. Went from in the sevens to 5.5%. She, in her case, is saving almost $600 per month. That's a no-brainer. You want to refinance at that time. So I know, you guys are working with buyers and purchases and whatnot, but even for purchases, the rates are in the fives. 5.99% for a conventional loan. By the way, high balance. For conforming loan amounts, the interest rate is 5.625%. Okay. Now, what Kevin just put on the screen, when you see, this is the 10-year Treasury note. If you Google 10-year Treasury note, you'll get, from various different sources, this index. If you see the green arrow going up, that means rates could revise today upward. If you want to, drive yourself slightly crazy and watch this on a daily basis, you will know what rates could be doing. If it's red with the arrow down, that means we could revise with lower rates that day. But we are only on Wednesday. And typically, not that we have a crystal ball, but typically rates are lower by Friday. So when people check rates with us on Monday, almost like in the 90% chance that the rate will be lower by Friday. But also a good way to just kind of gauge it is to watch this 10-year Treasury note. So rates are in the 5.625% for a purchase, maybe even lower, and rates change on a daily basis. So, and 5.99% for high balance. So these are great rates. And I want to touch base because I've had realtors ask me, how can we, like, what if the buyer doesn't have money to pay my compensation? What if? Okay, there's several different ideas. One of the questions that was asked several times to me was, well, why can't it be rolled into the loan? Well, you know what? It kind of can be. I mean, if your buyer is putting 20% down, and so let's say you have a 500,000 purchase price, 20% down is 100,000, and the loan amount would be 400,000. And let's say, they want help with $10,000 of your compensation, and they want to add it to the loan. They could do a $410,000 loan, but now their loan to value is not 80% anymore. It's 82% or something like that. So there's a slight amount of PMI. And actually for that loan amount and purchase price, it's like $34 per month. Not that big of a deal. If you want to roll it into the loan, make the loan $410. And so the buyer comes out of pocket with, instead of 100,000 down, 90,000 down. You could work it that way. Or you can say, offer 510,000 on the price and have the seller pay it. There's all kinds of ways to get your compensation paid. And maybe not every realtor is having this issue. I don't know. But there are ways of negotiating it where you can get paid. And you know what? Next week, or actually possibly the week after, I'm going to talk about alternative ways of financing if somebody cannot qualify. In fact, I'm going to touch base on one right now because there's one realtor out there. Hi, Ashley. If you're on this call, Ashley's been a friend of mine and a realtor for a lot of years. And she works with these guys that are all from this trucking company, and they transport vehicles, and their taxes show a very low income, but their bank statements don't. And oh my gosh, these guys went from maybe talking to another lender that was only looking at the tax returns and saying, well, you don't qualify. And we switch them over to a bank statement program, and with minimum 10% down, they qualify. So there's all kinds of ways, to make a transaction work. And, if it doesn't work, you're not going to get paid. So it might pay to actually give me a call. And so we can kind of figure out, well, how can we make this work so you can get paid? And I'm happy to do that with you. So don't hesitate to give me a call. Anyway, you guys have a wonderful week. Rates are so good out there. Make sure that you let your people know that. And that could get you another sale.
Heck yeah. And it can also just, build that relationship with someone that, you sold property to. And so you just make sure that they understand that this stuff is happening and you're providing that information. You're, becoming their go-to expert on all things real estate, mortgages, those kinds of things. And so when you're providing that information, that's just key. So thank you, Debbie. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
One last thing, Kevin. On that chart, you'll notice that the rates they're the lowest they've been in over 12 months. So it is trending down. It's important to note that. And so as we anticipate a rate cut, a lot of people just think it's like a straight, the Fed cuts, the rates by 0.5%. It doesn't mean it's going to, trend straight across the board to, let's say, a conventional loan at 0.5%. It possibly could, but there's other market forces that are in play, and I won't get too technical on that because nobody wants to probably hear quite about that. But the reality is we have not had a Fed cut, and look where the rates have done. So that's where the market forces come into play. We have had no rate cuts, but yet we're over 100 basis points down from May of April of earlier this year. So that's the important thing. You know what I mean? You can have no rate cut and rates can go up or down. So, but generally the trend is going in our direction, in our favor. And now more than ever, like Debbie said, if you're seeing rates in the 5s, there's a huge difference than 7%. Massive difference in payment, massive difference in affordability. So this is the time to get your people off the couch.
That's for darn sure. Get off the couch, make an offer, get it done. Yeah. Really, really exciting times. So good stuff. And again, you can get a hold of Debbie 949-394-3222 or Debbie@cvmloans.com. All right, so we're going to switch gears, getting back to our discussion on realtor safety. Very, very cool. N.A.R. put out I'll include the link to this PowerPoint presentation, but they put out, they're always putting out these kinds of things. But what I wanted to take a look at today was some statistics. And these stats aren't meant to, scare you or anything like that, but I think when you take a look at stats and when you take a look at numbers in generally, whether it's, your business numbers, look at numbers of calls, numbers of deals, compensation coming in, all of those different things, you do gain a good understanding of things. And so I think looking at some of these safety stats will help us, get a good understanding of what actually is happening out there with other realtors and what the actual situation is. So not meant to scare anybody or anything like that, but it is meant to keep you aware, because the awareness is what I think can make the difference between getting taken advantage of, getting ripped off, or even assaulted, or anything like that. So awareness is really critical, and these stats will help us become a little bit more aware. So the first one is, realtor experienced a situation that made them fear for their personal safety or safety of their personal information. So residential members experienced a situation that made them fear for their personal safety or the safety of their personal information. And this is from 2003, 22%. And this is a yes, pink is yes, blue's no. And so you can see that absolutely this is happening, right? And this is 2022 versus 2023, so very, very similar numbers between those 2 years. So and then the next one is a situation where a realtor feared for their personal safety. So after receiving a threatening or inappropriate email, text message, phone call, or voicemail, 29% had that experienced that. So when they were in a situation where they feared for their personal safety, it was 30% was after some kind of a contact from the assailant or whoever that was. 26% during a showing, 25% during an open house. We always we know that these certain situations are more where you're definitely more engaged with the public, and so that is where the vulnerability could be. 22% while meeting a new client for the first time at a secluded location or property. Yep, that's a no-no. We're learning not to do those things, right? And then 6% while meeting a new client for the first time in a public place. See, much less. Let's do these things, not these things, and let's reduce our risk, right? I mean, it's just as simple as that, honestly. While driving a client in your car, 3%. Not, it's not going to happen that much, right? And then other, who knows what that is 30%. So just good stats to just see, where these, problem areas lie. So this one is a realtor experienced a situation that made them fear for their personal safety or their personal information. And we're looking now at male, female, small town, rural, urban, and suburban. So males, less than females. Unfortunately, that's the stats, guys. Small town versus rural, and then metro. That makes plenty of sense to me. So rural, probably not that much, possible exposure, right? Small town, a little bit more, urban, more. And then suburban area, strangely enough, is the highest. So, and that could be due to several different factors, but it's just interesting to take a look at that. So the realtor was a victim of a crime, violent or not, while working as a real estate professional. So thankfully, and this is again, I just want you guys to look at these numbers, 95 to 98%, versus 2023, 2022. But the vast majority of people don't get hurt working as a real estate professional. Identity theft, 1%, probably about average. Robbery, not even a whole percentage. Assault, not even a whole percentage. And preferred not to say. So that's great. This is a fantastic stat right here. The vast majority of real estate professionals are not being assaulted violently, right? Or even, identity theft and so forth. So, we're fairly safe. But when there are crimes, where did they occur? Well, let's take a look. So after receiving that threatening or inappropriate email, text, phone call, voicemail, 24%. Huge. So that's like, there's already a red flag, right? So during an open house, again, fairly large percentage of those, crimes are occurring at the open houses and at, client meetings in a secluded place. Not good, right? And so again, how do we mitigate those things during an open house? Have another person there. Have, all the different things that we talked about in last week's webinar in place, so you're not being vulnerable. And then same thing here, we're just not really doing this anymore, right, guys? We're not meeting new clients in secluded places or at a location for the first time. Just don't do it. And then you're going to take out a lot of the chances for being vulnerable. So it's as easy as that. And then during a showing, 2%, meeting a new person or, a new client for the first time in a public place. Still, that'll happen. Realtor has met a new or prospective client alone at a secluded location or property. Thank you, guys. 60%, 65%, 66%. Not doing that, but this is scary. 35 to 34% have done that. Over the past 12 months, realtors shown a property alone. 85% yes. And that's interesting. Way more in 2023 versus 2022. Probably due to COVID, I would imagine. And then no, very interesting. Very interesting the difference in years, right? And it's just a shift in, total cultural situation here. Unprecedented, but that's the deal. So over the last 12 months, Realtor has felt unsafe while hosting an open house alone. Hell yeah. At least a small percentage, 15% say, yeah, I felt a little unsafe. So don't do it. Don't host an open house alone if you're feeling vulnerable, or if, any of those, you just want to mitigate risk. Over the last 12 months, Realtor has shown vacant properties in areas with poor or no cell phone coverage. 48% yes, 48% no. That's right in the middle there, right? Let's just not do that, right? It's just not a good idea. And if we do, we're going to do all those, things that we talked about. We're going to let someone know that we're going there. We're going to, set certain time amounts and say, hey, if you don't hear from me by this time, something's wrong, right? And so if you are doing these things and showing vacant properties in areas with poor or no phone coverage, make sure that you put other safety procedures in place. Over the last 12 months, Realtor has felt unsafe while showing vacant properties in areas with no poor or no phone coverage. 34% of residential members felt unsafe while showing vacant properties in areas with no phone coverage. All right, 34%. Again, that's too high. Let's not do that. Realtor has participated in a self-defense class. This is awesome. Only 38, 40% have done that. I'd like to see that go up a little bit. And that's pretty, I think this is, this is a good average at least. And it shows exactly what the actual situation is. But self-defense weapons. Okay, remember our friend Stun Gun Jen? She had all those nifty little weapons. Does not carry self-defense weapons. 50%. Sounds about right. Pepper spray, 18%. That's awesome. Firearm, 14%. Pocket knife, 9%. High-powered flashlight, taser, battery-operated noisemaker, baton or club. Prefer not to say. So some form of self-defense weapon is probably a good idea, no matter what that is. Let's see what the kind of averages are here. So among those that are using self-defense weapons, and pink's female, male's blue, does not carry. Okay, it's about similar. Firearm, 12% versus 22% on male. Pocket knife, females, 6%, males, 14%. High power flashlights, female, 6%, males, 9%. Pepper spray, that seems, very normal to me. I would imagine more women carry pepper spray than men. Baton or club, taser, that's great. Women can kind of level the playing field with the taser and pepper spray, so I think those are great calls. And then the battery operated noisemaker. I'm not sure how effective that is, but those are good because they alert, people around, and sometimes, an assailant, once they hear that, they know that there's attention being drawn to them and they want to get the heck out of there. So also good. Theft of personal items. During an open house, remember, some of the threats are just getting ripped off. During an open house, 4% in 2023, 3% 2022, probably less again from less showings, kind of over, just left over from COVID. During a home tour, 2%, 2% even, and then no thefts reported. Again, it's not, this isn't happening rampantly, right? But we just want to be vigilant. And then measures to safeguard clients' personal items from theft. See, this is a really good thing for us to be thinking of. We also want to be thinking of, our clients, and make sure that they're not going to get ripped off. It's not just our stuff that, we're worried about. So encouraging clients to remove notifications. 48%, that's awesome. Nice work, realtors. Encourage clients to keep medications in a locked safe. Same thing, that's awesome. Other, 21%, no measures taken, 19%, shame on you. So we always want to make sure that if we're doing open houses, that it's not, super expensive stuff just laying out. We want things somewhat locked up, and we want to be able to make sure that we are watching our clients as they're, perusing these listings. This is great. Use of a smartphone safety app. Love it. Find My iPhone feature. Great. 43% have that. GPS phone track for Android, 7%. Sentry Key real estate app. That's an agent safety feature, 8%. And Forewarn, 12%. Forewarn is a background check app. So not a bad idea to be, checking somebody's background when you, at a minimum, Google, a prospect's name before you meet them. Make sure there's not, something not just horribly glaring. But if you really want to take safety to the next level, using something like Forewarn, there's a lot of other apps and companies that do background checks and things like that. And so Forewarn's a good one. And then HomeSnap Pro, 2%. Personal safety protocols. This is great. 71% of residential members says that they have personal safety protocols in place that they follow with every client. That's fantastic. These guys, shame on you. And then standard procedures for agent safety. Real estate brokerage has standard procedures. Yes, thank goodness we're in that yes percentage over here. Some people don't know, and a lot of brokerages have nothing. They just, they're not doing anything with regard to safety. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that you guys have access to this report. And it's a great idea to just peruse this report yourselves and just go through it. Make sure you understand where, these major safety issues are, and make sure that you're just always thinking about these things and you don't just get so excited about a deal that you're not thinking safety. So Bill, any other things for our agents to take away with respect to safety today?
I would just say, just use common sense. You know, think
Yeah,
through kind of what your preferred method of having an action plan is, and you making sure you have some sort of method to communicate with people if you are to be in a situation where you're uncomfortable. Um, and just having that vigilance and awareness of things, making sure things don't happen, and you can be proactive, and you can be proactive and not reactive, because I think the reactive part is where people tend to get into trouble. And so obviously, when the days get shorter, and you're not, maybe you're going to see, meet a new client for the first time, or, no one's with you. I mean, just stuff like that. If you can eliminate all those opportunities where people might, or maybe you're in a bad neighborhood. Maybe you're showing a property in a neighborhood that has high crime, or it's got, stuff going on. Just making sure that you have a plan, and people know where you're at and stuff like that. Just the common sense things I think are the most important.
for sure, Bill. That's, I think the hugest takeaway of all is common sense and trust your gut. If something seems wrong, it's probably wrong. And, always just take these little precautions. And if you have a plan in place, way better than not. You're way above, ahead of the curve. And so, yeah, stay safe out there, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. And we look forward to having you all on the webinar next Wednesday. Bye-bye.